Hello, everybody. I'm Paul Ryden. All of us are going to die one day. No surprise there. But here's something I've thought about from time to time. Suppose after you die, you're accused of something you didn't do, and because you can no longer speak for yourself, you have no way to defend yourself. Well, that kind of goes to the heart of the novel our guest, Al Dawson, has written. It's a work of fiction called Priest. Welcome, Al, from Palm Gardens, Florida. How are you today?
Well, I'm doing fine, Paul.
Good
Thank
enough.
you.
Now, you say right off the bat that this is a book that you had trouble writing. Why is that?
Uh, it goes back to several things, actually, Paul. I'm Catholic. I was raised in a very, very Catholic family. I got a Mexican mother and an Irish father. I had no chance.
Quite a combination there.
Yeah. So in that family, the expectation was that at least one of the kids was going to end up in the seminary. And being the oldest boy, guess who?
There you go.
So I was off to St. Anthony's Seminary in Santa Barbara, California. I was 14 years old. Back in those days, Paul, they used to draw kids from grade school and bring them into basically a boarding school environment. It was pretty strict,
Yeah.
but it was great, great in terms of education, superb education. And I had a good 3.5 years there before I was dismissed. Um, they
Something you
dismissed me
did,
for all
something you
kinds of
said.
reasons. Well, dismissal was not uncommon. The 120 kids that came in with my class, one made it to ordination.
Good
One.
grief.
I mean,
That's,
they were terribly, terribly selective and very arbitrary.
mhm.
In any event, as you probably know, there were many scandals that came to light from what they called minor seminaries in that time. I got to tell you, it never happened to me. I never experienced it. I never saw it. Although I did know that there were kids that were abused by some of the clergy and the teachers later on. And it bothered me. It bothered me a lot. And it kind of put it out of my mind. After I left seminary, I went on to, do whatever I did, went into law school, did all that, had a whole career. But, um, it started to bother me when I was looking at some of the records of some of the abuse cases and some of the records that were being kept by many of the dioceses about people who were so-called credibly accused.
Mhm.
Well, I looked at some of the names and I knew those guys. I said, really? How can that possibly be? And they're not even alive anymore.
Mhm.
And yet, oftentimes what would happen is the church would take the easy off ramp and say, well, we don't want the scandal to get any bigger. Why don't we just settle this thing and send it off? And that happened in too many cases, I think. And that's what really got me thinking about doing this book. The book, I'm slow. I'm a really slow writer. It took me about 4 years.
Mhm.
But the book itself is kind of informed by my life in the seminary, as short as that was. And a lot of the priests and people that I knew, it's also informed by my history as being a lawyer. Of course, the hero of the book is basically a female lawyer, a Catholic female lawyer in a Jewish law firm that handles prosecuting cases. So anyway, that's the inspiration. That's where it came from.
Mhm. Well, yeah, I'm always interested in the writing process. How did you go about writing this one? I mean, how much was plotted completely in advance, and how much of it actually started to write itself based on what you kind of knew?
Sort of, well, people often ask me the question, do you do any, mapping out of the book so that you know where it ends and all that? I honestly don't. I usually just start with creating characters, strong characters, characters that I can believe in, live with, have their hates, loves, likes, dislikes, foibles, problems. And so what I do is I let the characters drive the story.
Yeah.
And sometimes they make some funny turns on me, and I have to adapt. So it's a very free form way of writing, and I know many people do that, but it's sort of my style.
Yeah. Well, given your Catholic background, was it difficult to write about things like that?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it really was. The fact is, I did approach the chancellor of our diocese after the book was done, and I said, I don't know, Father, would you mind taking a look at this and just kind of give me not an imprimatur, but at
Yeah.
least give me a sense of whether you think this is way off base, on base, whatever. And about a week or two later, I heard from him. He said, I can't give you anything positive to say about this book.
Really?
It cuts too close to the bone. He said, I know it's got full of disclaimers. It's fiction. This isn't a real story about real people, but it is awfully close to some of the cases that actually have happened. And I just think it's going to be terrible for the church if this thing gets out there.
Hmm.
Well, I thought, well, thank you very much, Father. I don't think I agree with you, but that's input, I suppose.
Yeah, but you know what? Even if you disagree with him, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm the kind of person that if I got some sort of criticism like that or that sort of feedback, it would just put a pit in in my stomach. I would just feel like I was been punched in the gut, and I would feel like somehow I've done something wrong.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I didn't feel like I'd done something wrong, although I did make one other contact with a guy who was actually the guy who headed up the diocese, or not the diocese, the province of Santa Barbara, which was a Franciscan province.
Mhm.
And I tracked him down. He was not at seminary when I was there, but he said, I'd love to be able to write something for you about this book, but I can't. The province is in bankruptcy, and
Yeah,
the lawyers say you cannot say anything. So, all right, so I'm out there on my own now.
yeah. If someone were to ask you, why should I buy this book, Al, besides, enriching your coffers, what would you tell them?
It's not so much a book about sexual depredation. It's not about priests, abusing children. It's really about a woman who is torn. She's a lawyer. Her name is Faith,
Yeah,
and
interestingly enough.
she she's torn between her traditional upbringing and her belief that she was brought up with. And on one hand, and on the other hand, she has the problem that I had in inspiring myself to write the book.
Mhm.
So at least two-thirds to three-quarters of the book, Paul, is about Faith's attempt to somehow vindicate this priest who has already died.
Right.
And there you go through an awful lot of, Sturm and Drang and plenty of plot twists and lots of thriller stuff. But by the time I was almost done with it, I thought to myself, we got a story here, but it almost sounds like a whitewash.
Uh,
And I think to make it actually more realistic, we got to have one who's a real bad one.
mhm.
So I came up with a new character. Oh, was he a good one? He was a beauty. Handsome, good hair, good teeth. He was on the fast track. He was going to be a bishop. Hell knows, he might have been a cardinal at some point.
Mhm.
But boy, did he have a dark past. And no one wanted to talk about it. But finally, things start to unravel. And Faith, our lawyer, discovers some witnesses whose daughters were terribly abused. And so we end up with the counterpoint juxtaposed with the good guy who died, the other guy who is very much alive and on a very fast track. And so I decided we had to do that one. And that one sort of balanced the other, although it was pretty gritty, pretty rough. And I think some people have a hard time with it because it gets kind of graphic.
Well, just like actors like to play bad guys, is it kind of, I don't know, cathartic or some sort of good feeling to write a bad guy?
Well,
I mean, to really
the
put
fun
yourself
is
in the
inventing.
to
The
put
fun is
yourself in the place.
inventing the guy.
Yeah, yeah.
I
What
mean,
do
he
you base
wants
it on? I mean, Do you base it on some of your own foibles? Do you base it on people you know? How do you do that?
Kind of weirdly, I kind of modeled this guy after Richard Chamberlain in the Thornbirds.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, really cool looking guy,
Right.
very handsome. So, and also on the fast track. So, yeah, writing about bad guys is kind of fun. In fact, this is not on point here because I'm just about finishing my third novel.
Yeah.
And in it, I've got some pretty bad guys and I've got some really strange guys. But those are the ones that energize you and make your juices go.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they're so, I would think, different than you, and just kind of putting yourself into a place where it's just not you, and that's kind of fun. And
Right.
this isn't your first novel, as you mentioned, Searching for Noriko. Now that one combines elements of romance, war, the underworld, the CIA. How do those stories, especially ones so wide ranging, get into your head and, more important, onto the page?
Um, Searching for Noriko was basically inspired by a long family legend. Two of my mother's brothers were soldiers who were in Manila in 1941 when the Japanese attacked, and they ended up retreating to the Bataan Peninsula, where they fought on until April of 42. And of course, they were captured when the surrender took place. They both went into prison camp. They went to Camp O'Donnell. They went to Cabana Tuan. And then they ended up being shipped off in hell ships to mainland Japan, where they were put to work in factories and mines. And, against all odds, those guys got home. They
Yeah.
made it home.
Hmm.
There's stories there I wouldn't bore you with, but incredible coincidences. For the rest of their lives, these guys came out looking like rails. They were so thin. They got huge.
Huh.
Food was obsessive. When you're in a Japanese prison camp, all you can think about is food. So anyway, the story about the two uncles became the genesis of the idea. I didn't want to do a biography of the uncles because then I'm involved in family politics and things get all funny there. So, heck with that. I just decided I'm going to create this new guy, and he's going to live a parallel life in some ways with these guys.
Sure.
And so that's kind of how it comes about.
Now you've got a third novel coming out. You're almost done with it. What is that about?
That one, my working title, and I think I'm going to keep it, is Borderline. And it's about a U.S. attorney, uh, big prosecutor guy. He's out in the Southwest. He's in New Mexico. And he happens to be one of the last appointees by George W. Bush before the Obama group got in. And he's kind of skating on thin ice because, you want to get rid of the other guy, get rid of the other side's prosecutor and appoint your own. But this guy is just doing too well. He's taken the cartels down. He is having success after success. And so he's got enemies in Washington that he has to look out for, but he's also got enemies across the border. And the enemies across the border are pretty violent, and there's a lot in there about the kidnappings, executions, big loads of cocaine and fentanyl coming across, human trafficking. Uh, it's a fun story. It's a fun story to write because I've got about four subplots running in that thing. It's making my head crazy because I have to make them all end up somehow. But
Yeah.
yeah, and it's again, it's not something I sit down at the keyboard and I say, where are we going with this now? And
Yeah.
then something comes into my head and I say, oh, there's a way to go. It's an off ramp. So that's the story about the latest one. Should
Man,
be out probably this year.
that's fantastic. You may consider yourself retired, Al, but from what I can tell, you are making the best of the time you've got left. And so, well done. The name of the book is Priest. That's the one we're talking about today, and it's available on Amazon. If you like legal thrillers and dilemmas that have to be solved, you will love this one. Al, thanks again for joining us today. Really
Oh, it was
appreciate
my
it.
pleasure. Thank you so much.
And thank you, folks, for spending a few minutes with us on the Global Book Network. I'm Paul Ryden. We'll see you next time.